You like just the radio tone?
Welcome
To the Blowhard Index. I'm joined by Damian Rollis and Emma Damakosh. And look, I'm tired and annoyed. My kids were assholes this morning.
Oh, starting off on fire.
Who are you?
I'm just happy I'm just giddy because I don't have to host the show. I can just kind of sit here like a moron, because that's my natural state.
Sitting like a moron, correct. This is the Blowhard Index. It is January the 15th of 2021, also known as December 46th of 2020, because Damien has declared that the new year doesn't start until there's a new president. It's just an extension of all the terrible crap.
I like it very much, actually.
That's Damian Rollis and Emma Damakosh. So today, look, this is the stream where we lose money live. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify as a podcast, or Overcast,
You idiot.
Okay, tone it down. Then we've already lost all the money, most likely. But do you guys have anything to say before I get into the agenda, what we're doing today?
Am I winning?
You idiot.
Nothing to say.
All right. You're winning in the ones where we didn't invest, actually. You are.
All right, keep going.
So here's what we're going to cover today. Here's what's on our agenda. First, we are going to cover how badly Damien's getting absolutely demolished by Emma. I mean, it's embarrassing. You spent like 20 years as an analyst, and it's embarrassing that you're
as an analyst, throwing ESG bombs at companies, telling everyone why they suck.
Your make-believe excuse about why, and then we're going to cover how badly you're getting demolished. Then we're actually going to vote. We have a proxy to vote today. We're voting our Apple proxy. And there's a couple of items on there, most of which are boring.
Don't get too excited. It's not a fun. I don't know why. They're usually fun.
Forgot.
They're usually fun at tech companies. Why is this one so boring this year?
There is a little bit of fun because I can't. There's something I can't figure out about this, and we'll go over it. But last thing we're gonna do is Damien and Emma both brought a company to pitch, and let me just state for the record, they are the most pointless loser companies I've ever had to spend time researching. Like I have no idea where these came from, but it's like
I'm so offended.
There are 2,000 tradable companies in the United States of America, like 2,600 of them or something, and you picked like penny stocks that no one in the universe cares about. So we're gonna go over those.
Really? We both did? I didn't realize
that. As our denouement. Yeah, you both did. Congratulations. All right, can we do this?
That's really your fault because you laughed at us last time for picking stocks that the price was high.
No, see, and this is okay. It's not that the price is high; it's that the value is correct.
I don't know what that means.
How much you're paying for a thing? It's not like the price is $100 a share. Oh, that's too expensive. Is it worth $100 a share? That doesn't mean because it doesn't mean you go get penny stocks because it's worth. Apparently, that one costs 12 cents. That's like going into the dollar store and being like, everything here must be properly valued because it's all $1. Versus,
if you've been in there, it is properly valued because it's all shit.
Yeah, exactly. So you can buy shit for a penny. And that's exactly what you propose to do later on in the show. But I guess we'll get there.
At least my shit gets you high. It doesn't just break the first time you're making
spoiler alert much. Do we have to spoil everything?
Sorry.
Also,
you can get high in lots of things. You can get high reading a really good novel. So, grow up.
Yes, that's exactly what you decided to invest in, a really good novel. Also, worth pointing out, if you're watching the live stream right now, we live stream on Twitch and YouTube, and you can see Emma hold up her microphone like a stand-up comedian today. I like it.
She looks very 80s anyway. She's got You need a brick wall. Can you change your background to a brick wall?
Not without totally screwing up Matt's setup.
It says like I've got the Unabomber and Seinfeld on today's show.
Okay. How dare you? I live in Maine. It's cold.
True.
All right, so let's do this. So first, we're going to go over the portfolio performance. So for those of you who have been listening to the Blowhard Index, and I suspect that's all people, right?
Better be.
We've got 20 positions in the portfolio. We actually unloaded a position or two last week. We sold just one. We sold CVS last week because Emma decided it was finally up 4 cents, and that was enough for her to get out.
I was done.
Yeah, you were done. You also know that as of today, I think you'd be up more money if you just sat in it. So, losing a winning portfolio theory. We got 20 positions. Our biggest position right now is in a company called Grow Generation.
No, Teladoc Health.
Oh, is it Teladoc now? Oh, yeah, you're right. It is No, Grow Generation is worth $8.36. It is our biggest position. So math I know is not a strong suit of somebody who's an analyst for 20 years.
I don't speak the stock market. I thought biggest position meant our buy-in. See, I don't understand any of this.
Biggest position.
It's also our big. Oh no, that's not true. Our biggest buy-in. Yeah.
Our biggest position is the one that's worth the most money.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
So about 11% of the portfolio is Grow Generation. And our biggest, it also happens to be our biggest winner right now, up 39%. That was an Emma pick all the way around. From a sector standpoint, most of what we have is actually just software and services.
It's an Emma pick, but with a boost, an artificial boost from you, Matt, because you added $1 to that one, right?
We did. We added $1, but no, it wasn't me who added the $1. It was you who added the $1.
Oh, to Grow Generation? I thought you were so excited about it.
No, it was you,
to
Matt,
Teladoc.
because you liked it.
Okay.
To Teladoc.
Teladoc.
This isn't going out on air, right? This is the rehearsal. I don't know what's going on. All right, keep going.
We haven't added. You're talking about when we did the initial buy-in.
Yeah.
I pumped an extra $1 into Grow Generation. Yes, that's true. Because
So what I'm trying to say is that Emma's total, it's a bit misleading because how the hell did she get an extra $1 to invest?
Here's the part that's
genius reasoning.
Yes. No, it's ridiculous.
I tried to double down on it last week, and neither of you would let me.
And it's a good thing because we'd actually have lost money if we doubled down on it last week. Which brings me to the performance of our of the comedian and the Unabomber. Emma is demolishing Damien right now.
Okay, that's not an accurate way of assessing.
Yes,
how would you describe 5 times higher returns?
We're both up.
That's how you would describe it?
Yeah, we're both, again, these things, what you fail to have here, which I'm surprised because you purport to be so good at this stuff and, excel and all this, is how come I don't see a week by week look at this? Who was up over the last week?
He's criticizing your spreadsheet.
Yeah, Matt, I want to know who was up over the last week.
You know what's funny about that is
I'm not a short-term guy. You know this about me.
Is that if you saw week by week, you'd see specifically that that's a short-term way to think about investing, rather than showing you how you're down over a 2-month period.
My momentum. All I know is that last week, up until this week, GM was getting slaughtered, and now it's doing well. So that's why I'm saying, just wait, relax. I'm up. Just relax.
Okay. I'm relaxed about you being literally 20% as good as Emma. I'm fine with that. So Emma's portfolio is up about 21%. Damien's portfolio is up about 4.3%.
Yes.
Our two blowhards together are beating the market. The market was up since we started the show in early December. The market's up about 1.5%, and our blowhards are up 3.6%.
Right, exactly. So I'm outperforming the market. That's what everyone needs to know at home. When you hire me to buy stocks for you, I'm smarter than the market.
God, please don't hire Damien to buy stocks for you. That would also be a terrible decision. So that's
There's another story. On the other side of the page, too, is that the stocks that you guys said I couldn't buy are outperforming Emma's slightly.
By how much?
Well, that's not the point. The point is that
So when
they're still
you're winning,
outperforming.
when you're winning, the amount that you're winning by doesn't matter. But when you're losing,
Exactly.
none of it matters.
Yeah,
And
welcome
it's just
to
about them both doing well.
welcome to financial analysis.
And just so you know, your long-term viewpoint, one of those companies that's up significantly on the stuff we didn't buy is a company called Concentrix, which is a main supplier of Facebook's shit-ass contractor workforce that just helped insurrection happen. So congratulations for winning in the companies we didn't buy. And one of them being potential abetting of insurrectionists.
Oh, yeah. Without Concentrix, Damien would be screwed. I'd be killing him.
This is correct.
Okay. I don't know. Sure.
Last week, we went through the portfolio and we removed CVS, which was one of the positions we had. But we also doubled down on two companies. So here's the interesting thing I want to talk about when it came to the portfolio itself. Damien agreed to allow Emma to buy more Teladoc stock. Emma wanted to buy Teladoc stock because it was way up. And she was like, I want more of that. Give me more. And
Drunken high. Yeah.
Damien wanted to buy into Beyond Meat, which was way down. So here's what ended up happening. Emma, like a heroin junkie, decided she needed another hit of whatever nonsense it was. And Damien, in the most rational way possible, said, I have a long-term thesis that Beyond Meat is the future. And while it's down, I'm going to buy it cheap. Now, I think that's purely accidental. I don't think Damien is a genius.
I mean, of course.
In any way, shape, or form.
But in general, I think Emma's philosophy last week was a little iffy.
Yeah, well, Teladoc was up like 20+% last week. We bought at the high. We doubled down at the high, and now the position is only up 7% overall because it's dropped since the high. So she basically diluted her gains by buying high like a Robinhood trader. So good for you. I want to just say that you're proving the point of the show. It's really excellent work. It's worth applause. Says the guy who's made 20% as much money as his competitor.
Look, I realize I'm a boring person, but I went to Vegas once, and my buddy, we got in the room, right? My buddy, I took a nap. My buddy went down to play slots. He immediately wins like, $2,000-$3,000. That was it. We were done. We never gambled again. We just ate like pigs, and we went to shows. And like you gotta walk away, Emma. You gotta just enjoy it.
That is the most boring way to go to Vegas.
I know we're not exciting people.
I have done something even more boring than that.
Okay.
When I went to the casino and I went to gamble, I played video poker, and I played on $2. I won another $5, and then I quit, and I have never gambled again.
I think $3,000 is a little better than $5.
Exactly. I'm even more boring than you in real life.
What the hell is wrong with you people? This is why normal people can't play the stock market, because it is Vegas. You're not wrong about the analogy.
I realize.
But the minute you're up, all of your instincts are basically wrong. But Damien did buy into, so Beyond Meat was down like 12%. And Damien decided he wanted to buy in because he believes in Beyond Meat. Now, whether or not he believed in it for rational reasons or irrational reasons, I suppose doesn't matter for the purposes of this conversation, because it turns out Beyond Meat was down. Most of their money has been coming from restaurants, which are all closed thanks to coronavirus. And Damien happened to buy low, and then they announced that they were increasing their distribution in supermarkets, and the stock promptly went up. So Damien happened to buy low, and now is up in his Beyond Meat position 8%. So his Beyond Meat position, which was losing to Teladoc, is now beating Teladoc simply because they doubled down at the wrong and right points. Any thoughts about that? Any thoughts about, before we move on to voting the proxy and then your dumb decisions this week? Any thoughts about that so far? Not that anyone should listen to your thoughts because they apparently are not great.
Well, look, here's why you should believe me and not Emma.
Do tell.
I've been, look, Free Float Media has been covering the news daily for over a year. This is what we do. We're the I'm going to be real with everyone listening. All you people, Sustainalytics and Morningstar and ISS, okay. MSCI, all you lovely people, probably the loveliest people in the world. We are the preeminent ESG news curating service on the planet. We are the tops. So let's just take my instinct and Beyond Meat. I've been following the headlines on Beyond Meat very closely. I know that its star is continue to rise, and so I made that decision based on my following the headlines closely. And what happened this week? Taco Bell announced a partnership with Beyond Meat because I just know they're going to keep coming. I know this is our future, and that's why it went up. It very simply just Taco Bell.
Yeah, diarrhea is our future. That's correct.
I'm not proud of it. I hate Taco Bell, actually. I make fun of my daughter for liking it. It sucks. And
Taco Bell took away like vegan's favorite menu item.
No.
Do you know this?
You haven't been paying attention this week. It's actually back. They've announced it's back. You mean potatoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're back.
Okay. Who likes fast food more, me or Damien? Can we settle this now that he knows all of Taco Bell's inner workings?
Yeah, you.
No.
Oh, right. Okay. Me. No, I'm just talking about the headlines here. All right, so that's it, Matt. That's all I got.
So what you got, let me just distill that down into real words.
Yeah.
I watch the news and trade after the information's already come out.
No, I doubled down on Beyond Meat before the Taco Bell announcement.
Because you knew it was coming, so it's insider information, or was it just pure luck?
I wish.
All right, so
actually, that's an interesting thought. I should be talking more to the drive-through people.
Yeah. Because that's where the source of information is. Every hedge fund in the world.
Exactly.
Ray Dalio of Bridgewater right now is at a Taco Bell asking the drive-through person what he should invest in. That's the way that works. All right. Emma, anything to say in response to Damien saying you don't know anything effectively?
I didn't say that. I didn't say she didn't know anything.
Well, I'm implying that or inferring that based on the fact that you said you know everything from watching the news.
All I have to say is that the numbers do speak for themselves, and I will let them keep doing that.
Fine.
Ride the winners, Damien. Ride the winners. That's what she has to say. All right, let's move on. Agenda-wise, let's stop talking about this nonsense. Now we're gonna vote a proxy today. So what we've got is Apple's annual meeting is coming up in February 23rd. And we got a proxy because we own a whopping, how many shares do we own? 0.0164 shares of Apple.
Is that enough to go to the actual meeting if they had a meeting?
You're a shareholder. You can go to the meeting. However, I believe our vote is worth 0.0164 of a vote also.
Will we get an invitation to attend the virtual meeting?
We have one, yes.
We do, okay. When is that?
February 23rd at 9 a.m.
I'm busy.
Can I talk?
Can't go. Sorry.
Can we talk?
You can try to talk, but the answer is absolutely not. They will never let you talk ever in a million years.
As we covered before here, too, that the pandemic is a major boon for public corporations because now they can just exclude everyone from talking at their meetings.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a way, it's a boon that they don't have to hear what Damian Rollis thinks at his 0.164 shares.
Or even look at me. They don't even have to I don't have to be in the room.
Although I do think Tim Cook is a listener and watcher of this show, I suspect.
I guarantee Tim Cook loves me. I do nothing but praise Tim Cook. My favorite gamer from Alabama, bar none.
Yeah, because that list is long.
Yeah.
he's number one on a ranking of 1. Okay, so we're gonna vote this proxy. So here's what's on the proxy, and I had our blowhards actually look at the proposals. I'm guessing they read them, and then make some choices about how they wanted to vote. And we're going to argue about some of those choices here.
I want to hear about Emma's decisions here.
The first is the election of directors. So all the directors are annually up for a vote at Apple. Now, it's worth saying that this isn't true everywhere. Like, for instance, there are, if you voted at, say, Netflix, which we also own that stock, so we will get to vote at Netflix. They have what's called a classified board, which means you only get to elect certain directors on an annual basis. They're like little teams, little board teams. Yeah, Apple, you actually have the ability to re-elect the directors every single year or get rid of them, which is nice. That's a nice feature. We're also going to ratify the appointment of an independent public accountant.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boring.
We actually get a vote on Tim Cook's pay. That's a little bit more interesting. We get a say on pay vote. Now, in the U.S., the say on pay vote is essentially meaningless. It basically is we think it's a good idea or not, and then they say we care or we don't because it's an advisory vote. And then there is an amendment to proxy access, which, Damien, you're going to have to explain because I can explain it too. But and then finally, there's a shareholder proposal to improve executive compensation, which I want to talk a little bit about too because there's an interesting caveat in that. But let's start with the directors.
Yes.
So up for election, I'll just read off the names. Nobody's going to, I don't think anyone will know or care about most of these people, but we'll read off the names anyway.
How dare you? There's the most famous director on the planet is on this board.
Yes, that's true, and I assume you're talking about Art Levinson, who's been a director since 2000.
Exactly.
So the directors are Art Levinson, director since 2000. Tim Cook, who's also the CEO. Levinson is the chairman of the board. Tim Cook has been a director since 2011. James Bell since 2015. He's from an ex-Boeing guy. Al Gore, everybody's favorite ex-vice president.
Everyone's favorite loser.
He's everyone's favorite hanging Chad, Al Gore.
Yeah,
he's been a director since 2003. He's on the comp and nominating committee. James Bell's on the audit committee, by the way. Andrea Jung, director since 2008, comp and nominating committee. Monica Lozano.
She's new.
She's new. She's part of the audit committee. Ron Sugar. Ron Sugar is one of the most famous directors. He's highly interconnected. He's a special little man. He's got that little man look. He looks like George Costanza.
Love that.
And somehow he's one of the most powerful, interconnected directors. He's been a director since 2010. He's on the audit committee. And Sue Wagner. Sue Wagner is one of the co-founders of BlackRock. Everybody's favorite stakeholder capitalist, BlackRock. Sue Wagner repping stakeholders everywhere. She's been a director since 2014. That's the slate this year. And Emma, why don't you start by saying how you wanted to vote for the slate, and then we'll see what Damien said, and then we'll argue.
So for the slate, I said my yeses were to Lozano and Bell, and my no's were to everyone else.
Lozano.
So let me explain what Emma
Bell.
did
Okay.
before Damien goes. Lozano is a Hispanic woman. She's brand new. And James Bell is a black man, and he's been around since 2015. Emma looked through the list and said, I want the Hispanic woman and the black man.
You don't know that.
No, this is my guess. There was almost no other real research into who these people are or what they're about. That would be my guess. Is that correct, Emma?
What an assumption to make. Incorrect. That is not what I did.
How dare
Okay.
you? Yeah, Emma doesn't really roll that way. That's more something I would do.
That's correct.
All right, we'll get deep into why you picked these two then. And Damien, Damien, who did you pick?
I said yes to everyone except for uh, the old white dudes, right? I think I said no to
Correct.
Levinson and Sugar.
Sugar.
Is that what I did?
So
Mhm.
Damien said no to Levinson, who's been around for 21 years at Apple.
Which
And
is just ridiculous.
at some point you do have to say, aren't you
Go
just an
away.
employee?
Yeah, I think if they call him an employee, I'd be fine with that.
And then Ron Sugar, who's he's only been around for 10 or 11 years, but Ron Sugar is like the epitome of a highly interconnected, juicy handshake board members. He's also on the board of
Northrop Grumman,
yeah, he came from
former
Northrop Grumman.
CEO.
But
That's an automatic no for me.
that's it.
I don't need a weapons guy like figuring out my iPhone. I don't need that. That's gross.
The iPhone is actively used as a weapon. He's also
Ron,
on the public.
Don't weaponize my phone. Get away.
He's weaponizing your what? What about your phone? Would he weaponize? Would it be the time you watched that YouTube video? Is that the weapon he's going to use?
I just don't like it. I'm just telling you why he's a no to me.
Well, Ron Sugar also sits on the boards of Amgen. Amgen's one of my favorite. Anybody who's connected to Ed Liddy, who just makes it my favorite, who's another board member. On the board of Chevron and on the board of Uber. Basically, Northrop Grumman, Chevron, Uber. I mean, like, does it get better than that? I don't think so.
No, these are probably some of my least favorite companies.
But let's start. I want to start actually with Lozano, the new board member. Because I have some fundamental questions about Lozano. And Damien, I actually asked you about this. Can you explain something to me? I want to know why Lozano is already considered a director. So I literally spent hours on this.
I don't know why you did that.
Yeah.
Monica Lozano, there was a press release that said from Apple on January 5th, the same day as the proxy, that said Monica Lozano has been elected to the board of Apple. Now, the election doesn't happen until February 23rd. So I felt a little gaslit and thought maybe they're just trying to like influence my vote, like especially in the middle of being gaslit by the president of the United States. I don't want to feel gaslit by Apple about their board of directors. But I went through not only Damien had said, we talked in pre-production that this might be just a language problem. They might have just used the language of, as in the board has elected her to be nominated to the board kind of thing. Like it might just be like some weird phraseology.
It could be intentional. It could be an oversight. It's hard to know.
But here's the thing that I realized that makes it incredibly intentional. They've already given her shares as a board member. They filed on the same day that she has share options vesting in 3 years as a board member. She's been given those share options. So she's got the share options. They say that she's elected. In the proxy itself, she's already a part of the audit committee. Like she's already on a committee. She is not even a part of the board. How could she be on a committee?
She is. I mean, they do have the right to fill vacancies at the board just by a simple board vote. And I think that the other thing at work here is that they know that she's going to be voted on. And even if she was refused for some reason, they would override that. I think they're just going with what normally happens. But they do have a right to put her on the board. But just like the shareholders have a right to vote on her when the election comes up.
Yeah, but aren't we? I mean, so she's coming on to replace nobody. The board last year was the same board as this year. They just added her.
Okay.
That means someone didn't retire and the board elected somebody new. It wasn't a replacement. It was this year. She's up for election for the first time. There was no announcement of her retirement anywhere. And they've already said she's a board member and she has shares. And you just are here to effectively congratulate them
again,
for
I'd have to
filling the
look.
role.
I'd have to look a little more closely, but and because you're saying there was not a vacancy, but
There was no vacancy.
I would guess they also have the right to appoint new directors and increase the size of the board. But I could, I could dig a little deeper. But this is just, I don't. This is just the way it is, and especially like a choice like this, no one's going to disagree with. I mean, even Emma was okay with her. Emma hates everything.
This has nothing to do with Monica herself, but process-wise, if we're going to talk about the validity of elections at the federal level, why is there not a conversation about the validity of elections for corporate boards, which arguably are more powerful?
No, I agree with you. And in America, it's very loose. Like even if she were to get fewer votes, if she get more no votes than yes votes, she probably would figure out how to stay on the board as a zombie director. This is just the way America rolls. They don't truly listen to their shareholders, and you're right, it stinks.
They're also late last year. There was a story out of Japan that one of the companies that counts corporate board elections in Japan miscounted votes. There ended up being they said no material impact, but I do feel like the alternative democracy there's not going to be a Capitol riot and an insurrection, but the alternative democracy is a little fragile, and seeing Apple say she's already on our board, even though no one's elected her.
Well, again,
makes me feel a little like a kick in the nuts.
Let me dig deeper for you for next time. I don't know that they don't have the right to do that. I'm saying per their bylaws. I just don't think there's much of a story here. I love to jump on crap and make fun of companies, but I don't know there's a story here. I think it's pretty common. But let me look into it.
Well,
how about that?
Being common does not mean there's not a story.
Okay, well, I'm going to go into their bylaws as much as I don't want to.
I already did. There's nothing in there that says anything that was useful. All right. So
yeah, I'm a trained expert.
Oh yeah, no, your portfolio suggests that. Let's then. So that's my thinking on Lozano. Emma, does that change you wanting to vote for her, or what actual research did you do that you claim to have done?
So with her, I just sort of liked her, to be honest.
Oh, good. No, that's a reason.
Good enough.
So she's in journalism. She has. So what? You're already shaking your head. I've said like two things.
It's like she's in journalism is like I'm voting for my mom. That's like, come on.
Okay.
No, that's not what she said.
Hang on.
Her mom's not in journalism.
I know that.
And she historically has. So she started in journalism at the height of the AIDS crisis, and which was of course still very taboo among many communities, but especially of the religious Hispanic Latino community. And she fought really hard for it to be less taboo. And she has historically been supportive of many things that I think are pretty impressive for the time that she supported them in. And she just seems cool, and she's a woman of color, and it means that Apple's making good on its promise to diversify their board more. So I was pretty happy with her.
Now, the part of that promise was to diversify their company more. And if you look at the executive leadership in the same proxy, they're not so good at that.
No, God, no.
No, they're not. Terrible.
It's really one of the worst companies I've ever seen. So that's a win. So basically, you're voting for her because she's a social justice warrior. Is that distills it down?
Is she?
And you like her?
She's like not really. She's a journalist, but I think I did like. So she called out early on. This is way before Trump time. She called out American journalism's tendency toward aggressive political pieces, and she thought that it was getting a little out of control. And so, of course, with the advent of Fox News and all of this broadcast network bullshit that is basically entertainment rather than actual news, and if you go to court, and apparently if you're Sean Hannity, you can get that proven and not be charged with stuff. I liked that from her also.
Matt, you owe Emma an apology.
Stop it! I don't know.
She did the very opposite of what you said. She actually did a lot of research about this person.
All right, let's talk about James Bell. What's your research on James Bell? We're voting yes on James Bell, but no on Andrea Jung, who's also a person of color and a woman.
Yes, there was actually a reason for that.
Yeah, I want to know the reasons.
So James Bell actually was mostly because, one, I was very chill with a black person being on a board because there are very few of those. And I was like, okay, pretty much. And he didn't seem to have done anything egregious. Like, I couldn't find much. I know he was involved in Boeing, and I know you guys have a bunch of issues with Boeing, but honestly, that was a little before my time at Free Float, so I don't totally understand the whole Boeing thing. But I don't know. He seemed fine to me. I couldn't...
And he looks like a nice grandpa. Doesn't he?
I suppose so.
Let's be honest.
I don't think he's grandpa aged, is he?
No, he's 72.
Oh, also, I liked that he was new. He's only been there since 2015.
That's true. Which is saying a lot for this board.
Wait, 6 years is new?
For this board, it's new.
Okay, so what's interesting about that is that doesn't that sound a lot like the reasons that I suggested that Emma would choose a board member?
That is more, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So not so far off base and maybe doesn't owe an apology. However, I would say
Half
here,
apology.
the little Boeing thing that happened before your time at Free Float Media, he was the CFO while the 737 MAX 8 was approved and built, right? Like, so.
Oh, it's the plane.
CFO.
Right.
He doesn't know what's going on. He's just moving money around.
Oh, you're right. No, he probably had nothing to do with, figuring out how to pay for it and telling them, oh, well, it's getting a little expensive. Maybe we should cut the cost down.
Yeah, he's just ordering like new staples and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I forgot. That's what the CFO does. They mostly do staplers and H&R Block.
Yeah, come on.
But why then no on Andrea Jung? Because she would conform to some of these things, but you don't like her.
Why don't you like her?
So Andrea Jung, she actually spent a lot of her career at Avon, like the cosmetics company, the multi-level marketing cosmetics company with the Avon ladies. And I think, it is just so predatory and gross and pyramid schemey, and I didn't like it. So I said no.
All right. I mean, I can't really argue with that. My counter to that would be that, she's sort of one of the only. She's like kind of like the OG female CEO, right? I mean, she was a CEO of Avon back in the '90s, which seems unheard of to me. Avon also, unlike almost every other company, and I don't say that to exaggerate. Actually, I think like 50% of their board was women, right? I think that they were very aggressive with putting women in leadership even before people were screaming about it. So if my memory is right, I think she's kind of a real leader in this area.
Well, so here's the fun double standard. You basically said James Bell is black, and I don't know that much about him. I don't care about Boeing. James Bell was the CFO of Boeing up until April of 2012, doing Boeing stuff. Andrea Jung was the CEO of Avon and chair of the board until 2012, doing Avon stuff with a highly diverse board. And since then, James Bell's just basically sat on the board of Apple and CDW and Dow DuPont and JP Morgan. Those are the boards that he's been on in the last 5 years. Andrea Jung became the CEO of a nonprofit called Grameen America, which provides microloans to women globally. They help women who live in poverty through microloans. So we're voting no because multi-level marketing Avon seems gross. But crashing plane Boeing guy doesn't seem as gross. All from 9 years ago. That's why we're voting no.
Who's we?
Well, we have to vote this proxy.
Oh no, I say yes. I say yes on her.
You say yes on her, right? Like
yeah,
so.
We haven't even gotten to Damien yet.
Yeah, Damien, you're next because you only said no to Sugar and Levinson, so you're a yes on all these other people.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know if Emma wants to change her vote or she's going to stick with it.
Look, I'm sure if I looked into James Bell, he's done a whole bunch of other charitable things and nice things. Like, I mean, they all do. They all have to, I know, get tax rebates somehow, so they all do charitable shit. And so, I
I
mean,
like it.
Nice.
right? Am I wrong?
You're
And
probably
so,
not wrong. No.
Um,
What you're trying to say is they want to go to heaven.
I mean, they're trying. I mean,
Yeah,
someone
try.
needs to tell them that's a futile effort, but they can, I mean, keep deluding themselves.
Jesus
but
is a tax write-off, I think.
Jesus is a tax write-off. But look, no, and when I looked her up, I saw a bunch of cool stuff too. I think that my reaction was maybe a little bit too personal. I very much dislike women who find themselves in positions of power who screw over other women the way that a multi-level marketing system like Avon does. It just makes my skin crawl.
I don't know enough about that. Do you? So Avon is screwed over women? Like this is something a
it's
known
actually
thing?
interesting.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research into this, and I'm sure that
Okay.
someone on the internet could like yell at me and tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, all our
which they
listeners.
should feel-
Yeah.
which they should feel free to do, by the way, if I am wrong. But apparently, of like the schemy multi-level marketing companies, Avon was the best. Like, it was legit because Avon has been around for forever, and so those Avon ladies used to do real business. And they used to make money off of it, and then as it got harder and harder to be someone in the beauty industry, it sort of devolved into this very shady people at the top making tons of money, and all of these people being fooled into thinking that they can make money, but they can't. And makes me feel gross.
Okay, we're going with our feelings.
I hear you.
All
right. Hey, what else is she supposed to do though?
I don't know. Research.
What's the difference between feelings and research?
That's a Damien comment if
Yeah,
I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What are you talking about? Like, there again, haven't we established that there's no? How could you possibly say there's a right and wrong here with any of this stuff?
There isn't, except that there is a way to think about it that isn't feelings versus not feelings, like and research.
Right. Okay. But let's talk about it though. A shareholder gets and especially if you own a lot of stock, you get all these proxies. How much time do you have to research all these people? I mean, you should be calling Free Float Media, and actually, we would provide this service for you happily. So, tell your friends and tell your car mechanic. But how are people supposed to have time to figure all this out?
Research.
Okay, but I'm being serious here, though.
This is a shout out to Free Float Media and us. We literally do this research for people, and then we give them an assessment, right?
That's what is Emma supposed to do beyond? She did her research on Jung, and I don't necessarily agree. Although I appreciate her points on Avon. Like, I'm looking at from the other perspective. Like, here's a Fortune 500 company that actually, put women in leadership. But what is wrong with her? I still don't understand what's wrong with her assessment. How is that feelings based?
Well, here's the assessment that we give, right? If you look at a corporate board and you treat it like a team, like an NBA basketball team, and you say,
sure,
this team scored this many points and had this many wins and won the championship or didn't, right? And you do that every single year for a corporate board. You basically assess each board configuration as its own team. You can start to pinpoint what a person's potential value add is to that board.
I understand that, but how do you define wins and losses in this world?
There's lots of ways.
Right, and she's telling you her ways.
Yeah, her ways are, I don't feel good about Avon. How is that a definition that anybody else can apply?
But if we're doing a stakeholder capitalism thing, that's how it works. She's not thinking of just share. She's thinking about all the stakeholders. If she's saying the company screws over women, wouldn't that go in her loss column?
Sure,
come on, get over it.
It would go
You're
on.
So wrong.
There's no way.
And your green screen sucks. Come on, admit it.
You're more than welcome to put that in your loss column. Rather than saying it makes me feel icky, I want to actually measure the ickiness. Because here's the problem, right? While Avon makes you feel icky, we're also going to say yes to James Bell, who worked at a company that arguably did more damage to more people than Andrea Jung ever did, right?
I'm not disagreeing with that point. Yeah, you're right there.
In which case, that's called not feelings. things. That's called research. That's called measuring the same thing across all the companies. So you can set whatever you care about as your standard. You can go say, I just don't like people who use metal straws because I think it's dopey and that's a millennial thing and I don't care about it. I want to pollute. You could make that your criteria, but then consistently apply that criteria across all the companies.
Wow.
Or else it's just you being whimsical and saying, I just don't like her face. How far away are you from? I don't like.
She never said that.
But that's
Listen.
My point is you're not far away if you're not actually consistently applying your thinking.
You're asking Emma not to be human.
Correct.
Exactly.
No.
Mm-hmm. I'm asking if you have a human reaction to something to apply that same human reaction to all the things. I'm asking for some level of consistency.
That's not what being human is.
Okay. Well,
I know we had a long conversation the other day about how much you love one of your kids and hate the other kid. So you know what it's like.
And we all know that I apply consistently the fact that I actually hate all of them, right? Like it's so the amount I love them is very incrementally large, like smaller than the hate I feel.
Your love is fleeting.
And I'm not sure we should be taking advice from the guy who's down 5x from Emma's returns.
It always goes back to with you. But I'm okay. Forget it. Let's just move on.
Well, you have a chance now. Talk about why you want to say no to Sugar and Levinson, but yes to everyone else.
Well, my reasons are far worse than Emma's. Essentially, I can't get behind these long-term directors. If Apple were just to call Art Levinson what he was, we talked about this yesterday, Matt. Art Levinson, all the research I'm doing on him, he seems like he's probably there because he's ridiculously intelligent. That's my thought on him. I mean, his background's pretty impressive, and I'm sure he's very useful to Tim Cook. But again, having been there for 21 years now, he's clearly not an independent voice. Him and Tim are kind of, they're clearly buddies. So call him what he is. I mean, he's an Apple employee. So that's just a corporate governance move. I don't like these long-term directors. James Bell, exactly what Emma said. Al Gore, look, if I actually believe in Apple as a company, I just feel like Al Gore is a useful guy to have around. His connections must be ridiculous. So. And he's America's favorite loser, so I'm just giving a pass to Al Gore for that. I picked Jung for the reasons that that I already pointed out and that Matt pointed out. I'm impressed by Jung's background. Lozano, for the reasons that Emma pointed out, I'm pro Lozano. I'm anti Ron Sugar for the reasons that you already pointed out, Matt. He is affiliated with pretty much every company that makes people like me feel bad about myself. So. It's a no on Ron Sugar. And Sue Wagner, as much as BlackRock makes me uncomfortable, I'm not at a point in 2021 to be removing women from boards or from leadership. Look, I know it's kind of it's a feelingsy thing, but my perspective would be, give women at least 50 years to figure it out. Get rid of the men. So maybe she sucks. But maybe the other woman could figure that out and get rid of her, but I'm not going to do it. So that's it. I know it's all terrible, but this is what happens.
So I will say
what happens when you let people vote on things.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
This is what happens when you let people vote on things.
And frankly,
they make worse decisions.
My process is way deeper than, say, ISS, who tells millions of people how to vote. My process is a lot more sophisticated.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel icky about Ron Sugar and the boards he's on is definitely more sophisticated than ISS.
I don't need a guy from the defense industry on my Apple board. I think that's very reasonable.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I actually agree with your 2 no votes. But here's the value add of doing, research instead of just feeling icky. When you look at Art Levinson, he looks like he's not connected. In fact, I've done social network analysis on the 72,000 board members in the entire world and showed how they were connected to one another. And Art Levinson is one of the least connected board members. So is Al Gore, in fact, to each other, to other board members, because they basically only sit on this board. They're not anywhere else.
Well, yeah. When you connect things purely by other boards of public companies, but we know that that's a somewhat limited exercise. But yeah, you're right. He's
That's
not
right.
he's actually a real person. He's not just a corporate board member who hangs out at different corporate board clubs.
Which when you actually do the research on Art Levinson, which you can't do on boards. So he served as CEO. He's been the CEO of a company called Calico, which is a longevity company, which was actually funded and bought by Google. And he's connected to a number of board members at Google who are connected to board members everywhere in the world. People know who Art Levinson is in a certain community.
Right,
That's
because
the
he also
point.
sits on the board of the Chan Zuckerberg initiative, so he must know. Yeah,
He knows the Silicon Valley crowd really, really well. The same is true of Al Gore, who's actually Generation Investment Management. He's been their chairman since 2004. So for 16 years, he's the chairman of an investment firm, and he's a partner at Kleiner Perkins. Kleiner Perkins actually, the chair of Kleiner Perkins is John Doerr. John Doerr, who sits on Alphabet Google's board. So he's connected to Levinson in a single phone call, right? Like they know all the same people. And these are the two least connected board members by a social network analysis covering what boards people sit on, which means your view, when you do deeper research, you realize all these people know each other. The incentives they have to hold each other accountable for things are almost zero when you know everyone already. Like, what is your incentive for the guy who, like, you've known for 20 years to tell that guy, like, it's time for you to step down from the board, or the decisions you're making don't make sense for the long-term, value of the company? Isn't it much easier for you to just say, yeah, we've known each other for 20 years. Who gives a shit? That's pretty much where you get to, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, this is why, in the UK, any director who's been on the board for more than 10 years is no longer, you can't call them independent anymore.
So that's my case for research over feelings, because you can do deeper research and understand the connections between these people that might compromise their ability to make decisions.
All you're saying is that Emma's research triggered an emotional reaction. That's all that happened. She didn't just. She doesn't look at James Bell and want him on the board just out of the blue. This is based on her existence as a human being.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying there's a lot more going on there. Wanting a black person in leadership, there's a lot more nuance to it than just today. I mean, this is based on her upbringing and education. It's not just feelings.
Okay, now we're getting into the meta context analysis of Emma's existence.
Well,
Emma, do you just agree with Damien, or can we just admit that it was oversight on James Bell, and a feeling about Andrea Jung?
No feelings.
In all fairness, I forgot about the 737 thing. I really did forget about that. And that's bad. I don't love it. Not my favorite. Wish it didn't happen.
All right,
here's my problem, Emma. Here's my problem is that if Apple agreed to replace him with another black person, I'd be like, fine, replace him. But I'm scared. I'm scared that we're just going to get like another, Ron Sugar.
But let's vote, because we've got like
belaboring it.
I actually think we're going to come to the rest of the proxy next week, because there's like 5 more things to do, and we spent the entire time just figuring out these people.
Well, this is what happens when you make fun of Emma for having feelings.
I know.
Very
defensive. I triggered Damien is what I did this show.
Exactly.
So let's go one by one, and let's make final decisions. James Bell, for, against, or abstain?
I'm for.
Abstain means you just don't vote. That's 2 4s. I have to go with it. Tim Cook, for, against, abstain?
For.
Against.
Oh, so sad. I like it though.
We're going to abstain if you guys disagree.
Honestly, fundamentally, I agree with you. I don't think any CEOs in America should sit on their boards. So I know you're not making that point, but actually, that's something that we don't talk about enough. No one does in the ESG world here in North America. But yeah, I like it, Emma. You unintentionally took a major stand.
Yeah,
CEOs,
I
get
did.
out of your boardrooms. What are you doing in there?
Does that mean she just flipped you to an against Tim Cook?
I mean, imagine all the boardrooms in America. Imagine how all the afraid directors afraid to say what they really think because the stupid CEO is sitting there smelling like a musk-ridden Dorito-eating weirdo. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Get out of there.
So are we voting against Tim Cook then? Did you just change your vote?
No, I'm still for.
Oh,
I
feelings.
have diversity.
Man,
folks.
get
All right.
off your soapbox.
God,
I'm so pro diversity and leadership that it blinds me.
can I just say that I came in exhausted? This show is the most exhausting thing I do all week. Reasoning with you people. All right, Al Gore, for, against, or abstain is when you disagree. For or against?
Oh, I'm
Against.
for. Oh, sure. Oh, so Matt, you don't have a say in this. I didn't realize.
I have no say in this. These are your
Okay.
stocks.
Okay, yeah. So I think Emma's gonna win most of this.
No, it's an abstain because she's against and you're for.
Abstain is the same as against. What are you talking about?
Abstain is not as a non-vote. They're not gonna.
That's not how data collection works at MSCI.
Oh, because I forgot that's
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're doing here. We're
Keep
MSCI.
going.
Andrea Jung, for or against?
Wait, you know how all this is gonna play out. Why are we wasting time with this? She's not changing her mind and everything. Just do the math yourself.
I want you to
Against.
say it.
For.
Abstain. Art Levinson, for or against?
Against.
Against.
There it is. Monica Lozano, for or against?
For.
Ron Sugar, for or
Against.
Against.
Sue Wagner, for or against?
Against.
Oh, come on, Emma.
She worked
Listen.
for, I think, Blackstone.
Listen.
I was
Black
not
Rock.
happy.
BlackRock.
BlackRock,
Matt,
yeah.
We can move on from these directors, but next week I want you to have the tiebreaker vote.
You want me to weigh in?
Yeah, of
This
course.
is the only time you've wanted Matt to weigh in on anything.
No,
On
because
anything.
when we-
Literally,
no,
we set up
no,
the show
that's
and it's
not
like,
true.
I don't want you
That's
to
not
do
true.
anything.
Because when we buy these stocks, if Matt agrees, it increases our allocation, our buy-in. So he should have a say in this.
Oh, not because it's my money that we're actually investing.
I just think it's boring. I just think it's boring to have Emma win every time. All her, just
There
goes
we
to
are.
abstain.
Feelings. I feel bad because Emma keeps
All right,
winning.
move on. Come on, move on.
All right, we're gonna come back to the rest of this. We actually have a couple weeks to finish it up. We'll come back to the rest of this in a future episode. We
That's
can't. We're an hour in, and we've just gotten through the board members. I think it's time to
I'm not
make
gonna
some
want to talk about
trades
this later.
It's
All right.
time. It's time to make some trades.
Can't you just edit this out of the podcast and keep it live?
All right, we can keep going. Do you want to keep going? Do you want to finish all the things? I guess we could go quickly through the rest.
You're running the show.
I
I'm not
think
gonna argue.
I think the next ones will go quick.
All right, let's go quickly then.
I promise to shut up.
Ratification of Ernst & Young as Apple's independent registered public accounting firm. Now, the votes that came in or the proposal, both of you said no, and I am utterly confused as to why you would say no.
Sure, we have different reasons, but you go quickly, Emma.
No, you go first this time.
I'm just fundamentally against the big four auditors. That's PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, Deloitte, and Ernst & Young. They have a monopoly over all of public corporation accounting. I think it's lousy. I hate it. I really hate it. So not to mention that some of these accounting firms have been at these companies. They're independent accountants. They've been there for over 100 years. I'm not saying that's the case at Apple. I don't know how long they've been.
It is not the case at Apple.
But I want to break up this big four. I think it's ridiculous. I just think it can't be good for anyone. So I will always be a no against the big four at all of these proxies.
So Ernst & Young has been Apple's auditor since 2009. So about 11 years.
I don't care. That's too chummy. So he's been there. They've been there ever since Tim Cook took over. It's just weird to me. There should always be different accountants coming in and being independent, not the same chummy losers.
Emma?
That was exactly my reason. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, move on.
I will say this, that I looked up Apple's audit fees, like how much they get charged for this. And relative to other companies, they are not just in line, they actually pay a little bit less than you'd expect for their audit fees. So, and there are advantages. There are actually advantages to having long-term relationships with your auditors because they know your books better than those that don't. Now, I'm not saying 100 years, but I'm saying... I'm saying, 10 or 11. And it turns out that Joe's accounting firm from Wichita, Kansas, can't really handle the scale of Apple's required audit. It just turns out that happens to be the case. So I'm going to vote against them because I don't have a choice. But I think that one was like an easy who gives a shit. The next one is the advisory vote on executive compensation. Say on pay. How do we feel about how Tim Cook got paid?
Badly. That's how I feel.
Badly because you saw the big N number and said that's too much of a number, right?
I did. Correct.
That's not even close to what he really gets.
I know, exactly.
That's just that year.
Damien, you were also a no for say on pay.
Yeah, well, there are a million reasons here, and I don't want to slow the show down. I'm sure we could, maybe another proxy, we could kind of get more into my philosophy on this. But just to be clear, the most typical shareholders will look at the proxy and see that Tim Cook made $14.8 million, which already seems absurd to me. $14.8 million. But if you scroll down just a little bit, which nobody will do except for idiots and losers like me, you will see that he also realized on the vesting of his shares last year, $282 million. So the whole thing, just the way it's set up, is a complete and utter smokescreen. And not to mention that the amount of money that American CEOs make is just, it's asinine. It takes greed to a whole nother level. I will vote no against pretty much all of these pay packages, this being one of them. And I know deep down that Tim agrees with me. I know that we're aligned. I know we're aligned with our values in this way. He's just he doesn't know how to get off this greedy train. I'll help him.
Can we, how do you feel about Elon Musk's, the way he did his pay package?
Look, I hate it too. If you want to get into another discussion of changing the direction of the way money is spent at employees of these companies, like we've talked a lot about how we think that employees should be getting equity, and if we want to like kind of start over there and make sure that all of their employees are well paid and getting equity, then we can talk about maybe Elon making a lot more than them. But I'm not going until we start there. I'm not doing anything. It's just too much.
Here's why I asked. Because structurally, those hundreds of millions of dollars that Tim Cook made, he actually made a nominal salary as CEOs go.
$3 million is not nominal.
He only gets paid. He only gets paid 200 times the average employee, which is half as much as the named executive officers at his own company, right? Like he gets paid half as much as the
Matt,
NEOs.
you're getting sucked in. You're getting sucked into. That's not his total compensation. That's just the.
But the payout he got was because he had unvested shares from when he became CEO in 2011.
Ridiculous.
So he waited 10 years for that payout.
Listen,
which is about as long as you can wait, right?
That's got to be the among the longest.
Definitely.
And he still has unvested shares from then.
Yeah, he's made over $1 billion so far just on compensation as a CEO, which is unusual. Usually it's because of equity. But listen, that's not the point to me. The point is that it's just too much.
Oh,
it's
feelings.
Too much.
All right, so we're gonna vote against.
No, it's not. It has
feelings.
nothing to do with feelings. It's just out of control. It's just out of control. And this is based on a shareholder capitalism model where that's essentially all we care about. We care about the shareholders of the company. And you know that I'm a stakeholder capitalism dude, where shareholders are one of many stakeholders that we worry about. I actually worry about the labor part of stakeholder capitalism. So there you go.
The average Apple employee The retail brings it way down, right? The average Apple employee makes about $57,000 a year. The median Apple employee. But
of course, the retail
and
brings
how
it down,
much
right?
do
Those
the Uyghurs
lowly
in
retail.
China making iPhones?
Well,
Exactly,
they don't count that because they're not part of Apple. That's them leveraging the poverty of the supply chain.
That's part of the problem.
So we want to give the Uyghurs equity.
Anyone who touches anything to do with Apple should be having a good life, and there shouldn't be homeless people anywhere in the San Francisco area. If this is what's happening, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
I agree with your morality, and I disagree with your vote. Okay, the last two are shareholder proposals. So these are actually proposals that were proposed by shareholders themselves. One is for shareholder proxy access amendments. So, quick overview on what proxy access is, which is just shareholders' ability to nominate their own board members. Damien, I assume you read through this proposal. Do you want to just give like the highest level version of what it actually says and means?
Unfortunately, it's essentially nonsense because it's so rare that shareholders actually nominate anyone, and you have to be so rich in the first place to own the right threshold to actually have a voice in this. So this isn't just like idiots like Emma and you, Matt. I mean, these are big players to begin with. So really, at the end of the day, this is all meaningless, but sure, like it's a little bit better. What does this one do? It lowers the threshold. It makes it easier to nominate directors. Fine, whatever.
Basically Apple's current proxy access, which is not 100% of the United States has proxy access.
More and more,
but not 100%. This one, Apple basically caps it at one board member, and this one allows that cap to be opened up to two, based on the percentage of the board.
Call me when a shareholder nominee actually happens here. But
management,
fine. This is fine.
Management recommends voting against this.
Of course.
Felt like that would just be enough of a push for you to vote for it.
That's just about every single shareholder proposal known to this world. They're always against it. They're against everything. It's nauseating. And what reason would Apple have to be against this? I couldn't possibly understand.
Emma, you were also a yes. Do you share Damien's FU philosophy, or did you actually read the proposal?
I didn't read the proposal. Is the truth of the matter?
Look, I think
feelings.
Emma, I think that's an important point to raise, though. It goes back to what I was saying before. People don't. First of all, they don't have time to read all this nonsense. Second of all, how are they supposed to understand this nonsense? You know how long it took me at my boring job to finally figure out all this stuff? This is not easy. It shouldn't be this difficult.
Yes. So of all of that,
all right.
I feel like I should confess that I did have the added benefit of seeing what Damien voted before I gave my votes.
That's why you should hire me as your corporate governance expert.
On this one, I knew that I didn't know Jack, and I knew that Damien probably actually read it, and I was going to agree with him.
Well,
and so that's why I voted yes.
Here's one thing you should know about the corporate world, Emma, is that these shareholder proposals are by and large are all things that you should vote yes on. They're pretty much brought by social justice warriors, right? I mean, it's like monks and nuns and
it literally
overview of what it
literally
was.
is.
I don't know. Sounds good.
I honestly can't think of a shareholder proposal that's ever been really nefarious and against your ethics and morals.
Yeah, no, the brief amount of reading I did, I was like, this sounds good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. This is such a good reason to vote for it.
And this one actually might pass. As I said, this is pretty benign, people are pretty for proxy access these days.
Let me just say this for the record. ISS, if you're listening, and I suspect you are.
How could they not be listening? What else should they be listening to? There's nothing else in this space for them to think about. Come on, people. Listen.
ISS, if you're listening to this show, you have a secure business model for the next 2 million years, based on the way our investor experts think. There were 4 that when management says be against it. The last one was another shareholder proposal. It's titled Shareholder Proposal to Improve Executive Compensation Program. Effectively, the only ask in here, it points out that the NEOs make 400 times the median employee, and there is no system in place to cap what the NEOs make, the NEOs being named executive officers versus the CEO. And they propose using the employee multiple as a cap for executive pay. They're proposing like create a system. Effectively, they're saying create a system to limit the multiples that executives can make over employees. Both of you suggested a 4 vote on this. I don't know that there's much to debate here. It seems pretty reasonable to not make more than a certain multiple than your employees.
Absolutely, because and that's pretty much how the rest of the world does it, especially at least in the West and in Asia, actually.
Yeah, well, they point out that in the compensation in Japanese and European companies is much less as a multiple of employees than the U.S. companies. Only in the U.S. have we decided that executives should be deified.
Thanks, Reagan.
So yeah, thanks, Reagan. It's like 40 years ago. And executive pay is actually, it's thanks like the change in rules in 2011 that ballooned executive pay. So we're all a 4 on this, right? We're all a 4?
Yes.
Yeah. Who proposed this? Do you know?
I don't know. In fact, Apple says if you want to know, you have to write them a letter.
Are you kidding me? They're hiding that information now? That's legal?
They will tell you. You just have to write them a letter and ask for it.
Wait, I thought they had to disclose. They don't disclose shareholder proponents anymore?
Not on the actual proxy anymore.
That's a change. Is that an SEC change? Are you aware?
I am not aware of that either way.
Apple,
but
you suck.
We'll find out afterwards. In fact,
that's terrible.
Shout out to Proxy Monitor, who I reached out to Proxy Monitor. I want to showcase your data. It's cool. It's good data.
I do like Proxy Monitor.
And they have all the shareholder proponents, including some of my favorite people like Jim McRitchie, who's like a gadfly, and John Chevedden, who's a gadfly.
Oh, yeah.
Super cool, like proxy voting legends. Yeah, there are legends in proxy voting, people.
The best of legends, though, are the nuns.
The nuns are legendary. But Proxy Monitor has not gotten back to me. Just write me my damn email. Because
what else do you have to do?
What are you doing all day?
We're probably the only people in the free world that have any kind of emotion and passion attached to this crap.
I know you're fielding constant inflows of requests from every other media company. But how about you throw some love to your ESG brethren?
I like making fun of them while you're asking for their help.
Help us. Okay, confirming vote, and we have voted our proxies, and that's where we're at.
I'm so angry about this new rule. I didn't know about this new rule.
Now we've only got 45 more things on our agenda today. But we're gonna pivot to, you have 2 companies that you brought to the table to potentially buy here. We're gonna start with Emma, who picked a company called AimSite.
AimSite.
Oh, good.
What's that?
That's how I researched it for like a day and a half. I can't even get the name right.
Is that like Am I Right?
AimSite.
Is that like Am I Right?
No, it's like a mineralized rock. It's a crystal.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. Actually, I did look into it.
Let's talk about Emma. Let's start by having you explain yourself, what they do, and why you would ever go find this company.
So, if anyone who is or is not watching listens to our other shows, we talked about recently an article that came out with a stat that said out of the thousands of companies that have ever IPO'd, only 20 of them have been led by women. And I was upset about this. And so when I went to go look around at stocks, actually that was just sort of the first place I wandered into, and they had a list of all 20. And I found this one. Yep, I found this one. It's the most recent one out of all the female-led IPOs to come onto the market. And I looked at it and was very intrigued. Like the whole thing was very intriguing to me. So it's run by this super interesting woman who I think by trade is an engineer, a software engineer. And she's super cool. And she's been a part of like a bunch of tech projects, including one that won some award from the Obama administration in 2012. And she's very interested in using tech to create better opportunities for education. And so this software company is basically a platform that says that the way that online learning works currently doesn't work. And so they created a platform where not only will they create this platform to do for either K through 12, college, or basically any other educational institution, they will create this platform, but they will also build out courses for you. So there's different like pay scales, but oh my God, stop. And so it's really interesting. They have a whole COVID software. It's called Amosite.
Amosite? Okay.
Yeah. And it seems really cool. I could not find one bad thing about their leadership.
I bet Matt
their
has.
Board, huh? I bet Matt
found
has
some bad
because
things.
Matt spent an unreal amount of time searching it, I'm sure. But their governance is, their board is really small. I think that the company is 25 to 50 employees. I don't even think it comes close to the 50 range if what I have seen is correct. And yeah, I thought it was cool.
Well, first of all, as much shit as
Yeah.
I give you, that sounds cool way of investing that you seem to have developed.
I like it though.
Is working for you. So I'm not going to argue.
There you go.
You have found a lane because you've picked grow generation. Oh, that's cool. And the real. I like that. And vote against Andrea Jung. Yeah, she feels icky.
No, I don't like that.
These are all a method to invest. And as much shit as I give you,
Plus,
you're up a lot. So
Emma,
it's hard to
listen to this management team. Listen to this management team, which is brilliant. As you pointed out, Anne Marie Sastry, right? She's the CEO and chair.
Yeah.
And the other one is a guy named Mike Smiley. So how can you go wrong? I mean, literally, how can you go wrong with a company like this?
You can't.
Thank you.
That is an investment philosophy.
And they have
that
a
I do not
director. They have a
subscribe
director
to.
named Barbie Brewer.
Yeah, she's their
the
HR.
unfortunately named Barbie Brewer.
Unfortunately, how dare you?
So there's two ways to think about this, and I will allow the that's cool version to linger in the air as one way. The other way is the business model version of this, right? In which this is a company that IPO'd in September. I think it raised like $19 million. It was, to call it an IPO. I think Uber sneezes at $19 million. And this is like a baby IPO.
But what does that matter for
That's
our
why I
purposes?
like it.
It doesn't, except that the scalability of their product and the view investors have of their potential is fairly low. Now, there may be a systemic bias in that because there's a woman leading it. You can't tell that from the numbers. But I can tell from the numbers that they do not make money. In fact, they are losing more money every single year doing what they're doing. And I know that because my first instinct was, it sounds like what they do is already done. Like why this company? What the hell makes them different? The only thing I could find that makes them different is, number one, they use AI in their marketing material. So there's a buzzword alert that AI is what they're selling that's different. And number two, they actually don't have any partnerships of note like their competitors do. Like there's a company called 2U, and it's the number 2 and the letter U. And they have partnerships. They're an online, education provider that uses, machine learning instead of AI, I guess. How many buzzwords can I use? But they have like 60 to 70 affiliations with colleges, right? Like, so they do everything. They actually have their own ESG reports. They're not making money, and they have a ton of actual partners and clients using it. So the business model part of me would say, well, why are we betting on this one as opposed, if you like the business model, there are other ones that do this. But I'm going to say this. I can't discount the fact that it's a woman-led IPO, and there are none of those.
Is that feelings? What is that?
What I'm saying is, if I were voting on whether to buy this using research, I would not buy this, but I will abstain because of feelings.
Well, we've done a lot of research that women-led companies and companies with more women leadership outperform other companies. So
there is research around that. There is research around that.
Research that we co-authored. Whether
or not they outperform in an industry saturated by other people who are doing it better than you is a different question.
Here's why
I will abstain from voting.
Here's why I agree with Emma. Because first of all, Emma's got the hot hand. I'm going to let her roll. I'm going to let her die or roll, or get bit strong. I don't care. Let's let it roll. Second of all, I agree. Of course, I agree with supporting women founders. Of course. And that has nothing to do with feelings. It's just common sense. And lastly, this is a Detroit company. Let's support Detroit. Come on. That's it. I'm done.
No, that was the other thing I forgot to mention. One of the things that I loved about it was it wasn't one of these coastal companies that is like all techie and weird, but it's in Detroit. Yeah. I love it.
Hire some people and let's say yes to this one.
All right. So we're doing, because I'm abstaining, I'm gonna average this up to a $3 buy instead of a $2 buy.
Why exactly you're abstaining?
Because
why do we hire you? What are we paying you for? Like, you wouldn't give us your input about the shareholder votes. I thought you were our financial advisor.
Let me know when you start paying me. I'm waiting for that check to come in.
By hanging out with you all day. Otherwise, you'd be stuck in your house, like cleaning organic avocado off your daughter's iPad.
Feel free to fire me at any point. Because
we fire you, screwed.
Yeah. Because. All right, we now own Amosite, AimSite, strictly because feelings.
Mine's worse. My company's worse.
And now we're going to move on to Damien's, which Damien's is worse. Damien wants to buy a company called Organigram. Why don't you explain what Organigram is and or does?
Okay, weed. They sell weed.
Yeah, there you go. Done.
Yeah, and it's it's 2021, so you don't have to giggle. I mean, this is how life has evolved, Matt. Your weird dealer is not that creep who sits at home watching reruns of Cops anymore. Like it's a public corporation.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm glad you brought that up. Because I want to read to you an excerpt from the earnings call that they had in December so that you can hear what your weed dealer sounds like now. Because I think, Emma's a little bit different because she's like 12 years old. But Damien and I grew up in an era where your weed dealer, you did have to uncomfortably go to some guy's house or behind a 7-Eleven.
Oh, I've done that too.
Oh, yeah. Shut up, old man.
and you did have to like make small talk with them, but not get close to them. And you did have to hope that you didn't get, shot or shivved. But mostly they were high, so you didn't think that was possible. The bigger concern was that you'd get roped into staying longer than you wanted to. And really all you wanted was to get the weed, get home and smoke it. And usually it was...
Usually on the way home.
Yeah. And usually it was some amalgam of grass and oregano mixed in with the actual weed.
Oh, is that true?
So here is an excerpt of what your weed dealer sounds like now, because they had an analyst call in which the analysts were asking all sorts of questions. The number one question that they asked Organigram was about gross adjusted margin, because Organigram does not make money. In fact, lost money during the pandemic because their growing was stopped or slowed. They actually couldn't get employees in to maintain plants. And I think that they had a slower revenue, even though everybody in the universe, all they wanted to do was smoke weed, I'm guessing. But here is the what they're saying about this is how weed gets talked about on an analyst call, which I think is amazing, because this is the question leading in. I want to dig in. I want to dig a little deeper into the idea of unabsorbed fixed overhead. You mentioned you were going to be bringing in a pre-roll machine in the middle of the year. A packaging task force is expected to complete their work by the end of the year. Can you give any indication?
Does that mean some skaters?
Can you give any indication what those initiatives will do discreetly for the gross margin? Maybe there's some internal modeling you've done, and can you compare that to the baseline now? The CEO of Organigram said, first of all, says that's a great question to everything. I'll give you a comment on the pre-roll equipment. The equipment's on site now. We've been working with it and have seen during test runs, it produces 40 to 50 pre-rolls per minute and reduced the labor requirements for pre-roll production from 22 people down to 3. That's an example of our directionality. It is not fully optimized. We're playing around with blends in terms of appropriate blended mix of material for it, but we expect a significant impact in the near term.
So their strategy is to roll joints faster with better weed.
So literally, that's how it gets talked about now. That's why I giggle, because when Wall Street talks about weed, they don't think about weed. They think about it in this abstract widget way, where he's basically saying, we're trying to roll as many joints as we can, as fast as we can, and there's not enough skaters to do it. And skaters are actually much more expensive than you'd expect. So we got this machine that basically just jacks out joints. It's amazing.
Yeah, baby.
But we don't know the right amount of weed to put in it yet, so we're testing that. Instead, they say we haven't fully optimized our pre-roll system, which can at a 40 to 50 minute. We're looking for the optimal blend of. It's just an amazing change from where we came from, I guess, is my point.
You know what would be cool if they developed like a Five Guys kind of mentality, where they put a bunch of pre-rolls in a bag, and then there's like leftover weed in the bag. Like, you know, when you get fries at Five Guys, you get the fries, but then they put a bunch of extra at the bottom of the bag. I think that's what Organigram should go towards.
Okay, well, I'll let them know in the next analyst call, which we.
All right. Do you want to know my reasoning here?
Owning this, yeah.
This was a pretty simple one for me. I was just looking for. I really got caught up on what Matt was saying last week about how I screwed everything up by buying everything so high, but I don't mean high as in like, you know, smoking weed. But my prices were too high. Of course, Matt just told me before the show that I'm an idiot still, because that's not what he meant. But whatever. I don't understand the stock market. So I looked for share prices that were low. I got a list of you know, I guess they're called penny stocks. I don't know. It's not quite a penny, but whatever. And I went through them one by one, and I hated every single one of them. The dirty secret about small companies is that they give two shits about things like diversity, because no one's paying attention to them. So it's all of their disgusting frat brothers running a company. So I just couldn't find one that felt right to me. I got to this one. You know, there's some women involved. They're Canadian, which I like. Beyond that, they're from New Brunswick, which is one of the provinces that we're actually plotting an escape to if we have to, because New Brunswick is bilingual, and you know, we're Francophiles in this house. So and weed, you know, I'm really you know, I'm impressed by Emma's portfolio. She got that high growth weed stock. So I was like, this is my company, or Organigram. There you go.
Emma, I'm going to let you tackle Organigram in a second, but I do want to I'll pose a specific question to you about Organigram, but I do want to just bring up this price question, because we did talk about it in pre-production, as Damien just alluded to. When I say buying things cheap, I do not mean the stock price is low. I mean the value of the company relative to the stock price. You get more value relative to what you pay. So you could pay $1,000 a share. If the company's worth $2,000 a share, you got it cheap. That's what I mean by that. Damien took it to be, I should look for like dollar store stocks, right? Like, which doesn't mean that you're getting value. It means you're getting cheap things that might suck. So a little bit of a different problem. But
At least it
Emma,
gets you high, I guess, when you suck on it.
speaking of, I actually asked Emma to dig into some of their strains.
Oh, good.
Because I think it's worth knowing what you're buying.
Sure.
Emma, did you dig anything up? Is there anything worth talking about, like what they produce?
So,
Come on, Emma.
interestingly enough, when I went and looked, I sort of had a hard time. And then I went to the Organigram website, and it turns out that some of the brands that Matt gave me currently don't exist. So one of them, so there are 4 that were in there. What was it that you gave me? Their like investor package or like whatever it was. Yeah, the investor presentation. They highlighted 4 brands, and it was like the most searched, the most used, blah, 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 blah. So 2 of them haven't launched. So one is called Shred and one is called Trailblazer.
I like it. Trailblazer is like products, right? It's like, is it like merchandising, like
so
clothing?
It's just brands.
Okay,
so
brand.
A strain of weed.
Organigram,
Okay.
no, not strains, brands.
Oh, brand of weed. Okay.
Brand of weed. So not strains. They have theoretically 4 different brands under the Organigram umbrella. Shred, Trailblazer, Edison, and a 4th, which is entitled Coming Soon, which is currently branded as Buds, but I can find nothing about it
I
anywhere.
like what you're saying. How could we not? How is this not good?
And then for Trailblazer, there's like a page, and it says, enter your email for updates on Trailblazer. And there is no website or information at all beyond that. And then for Shred, I found on like a Canadian weed website. It hasn't launched yet, but there are 3 different products from Shred that are going to launch but have not launched yet. So of these 4 brands, there's only one that you can currently purchase. However, that one brand I actually like. It looks really good to me.
Which one?
Edison Cannabis Co. I haven't looked into their labor practices or anything.
They're Canadian. They're going to be good people.
Canadians drill a lot of oil.
Not these Canadians.
These guys.
What are you talking about?
Canadians drill a lot of oil and try to put pipelines through indigenous lands.
Yeah,
so
those are the America Junior Canadians. These aren't like weed smokers from New Brunswick.
But Edison, one, has a very diversified number of products. They have a bunch of different things. And they give you a lot of information on their website about what is specifically in them.
Yeah,
so, like, when I was trying to explain terpenes to you, guess what they list? Which definitely not every weed brand does. They list the terpenes.
Look at Black Cherry Punch. Oof.
Exactly. So you're looking it up. Well, first of all, whoever did their marketing and design did a very nice job. It's a very beautiful website. It is. Very appealing, very whatever. So
Emma, if you say no to this, I'm going to be sad.
No, I'm definitely not. I have zero issue with this, except for the fact that 3 of the brands are sort of a mystery to me.
Well, okay, you bring up some interesting points. First of all, Canadian companies are a little bit different than American companies in the sense that they file in a different location. So if you're doing your research, you have to go to the CEDAR website to understand it. Because I don't know that
they are cross-filed on NASDAQ and in Canada, so you can actually the filings on NASDAQ.
But typically, all the if you go to where you usually do your research for the SEC, you'll only get like events. You probably won't get some of the bigger documents. But so that's one point. But the second point is that it's possible there's some kind of a Canadian firewall. I'm not sure. I was thinking about that maybe because we're entering it from the United States, they don't want us to poke around. I don't know.
Here's why I don't think that's true.
Okay.
On the Edison Cannabis website, which is one of Organigram's brands, that's quite a mouthful. They have a map of where all the locations that sell Edison Cannabis products.
Okay.
They all like right on the border.
Yeah.
They're like inviting Americans to cross the border, buy some weed, and bring it back illegally.
This is
one of the questions on the analyst call was, how are you considering the CBD market in the United States and targeting that market? And they said they had not figured out a partner yet, but they've been considering it for some time.
And then they laughed and they're like, you know how many stoners there are in Maine? Like, we're set.
You've heard of border crossings, right, douchebag? That was what the CEO said. Look,
the
only reason why I wouldn't buy this, first of all, if I look at our portfolio right now, like from a sector analysis, right? Like when I look at the sectors, the sector analysis says we're software, retail, automotive, consumer services. When you actually look at the names here, it is very clearly a linear lifestyle that both Damien and Emma live. Yeah.
Emma, here's what we're doing.
We watch.
Here's what we're doing if we're hanging out. We watch TV. We smoke some weed. We gamble a little bit. We eat some fake meat, and then we go shopping. That's our life.
You go shopping. That's it. I mean,
Wait,
literally.
I don't want to go shopping. We take that part out.
Well, then sell the real.
This sounds great to me. I approve of this lifestyle. The only thing we're missing, Emma, is we need some like a pastry. We need some pastries.
But clearly,
I actually happen to have a pastry in my vicinity right now.
Your entire portfolio, with the exception of one or two names, is designed so that you do not have to leave a single room. Because you have Teladoc, which means you can get all your health online.
Oh, right. That's true.
You've got the Real. You can get all your clothes online. You've got the Vital Farms and Beyond Meats, which is just eating in that one room. And then you've got all your weed stocks. And hopefully that room is powered by renewable energy. You're using your Apple products to basically the only time you're going to have to go out is to go get your Moderna vaccine, and you can take your GM car to go get your Moderna vaccine. It's literally a singular lifestyle that you're pretty much describing in your portfolio.
Thank God Moderna is in Cambridge.
Figured out our plan.
I'm a little bit concerned that we're highly concentrated in single lifestyle. We have not diversified our lifestyle. But the two of you agree on Organigram, so we're buying this, right?
Yeah, we are. And you know what the funny thing is? I actually have no faith that this stock's going to do well.
This is going to do relatively terribly. I'm out on this.
I think so too, but I want to buy it.
We're buying it for $2. And now this is the one stock, although thanks to Damien, this is the one stock that we own more than an entire share of because he picked a stock worth $1.82.
You're out on this, Matt?
I'm not in on this. No, we've already got plenty of weed and sitting around. Can we do something different?
We actually don't. I would like to point out that we actually have no weed. We have a farming company. That is what we have.
Well, what about organic?
Nice nuanced parse there. Air products and chemicals. We're just basically what we can do is farm weed and blow up Mickey Mouse balloons that float around our one rooms. That's our
helium shortage, Matt. Take that shit seriously.
That's basically all we got today.
That's it.
I'm exhausted. We're at an hour 40. I'm exhausted. This was terrible.
There's a lot. I think there's a lot to learn here. I can't wait for ISS to call us and offer us. First of all, they're going to advertise on this show, right?
I'm just going to let that linger.
I mean, how could they not? Think about it. Just think about ISS. Get back to it. Call Matt.
You've seen our logo. It's a George Washington flicking off the universe with a dollar sign as his middle finger, right? That's what ISS wants a piece of.
I forgot to wear my branded hat. Oh, well, next time. All right.
Damien and Emma, anything else to add before we shut this shit show down?
No, absolutely not.
That was Damien Rollis and Emma Damakosh. They are the blowhards setting up our Blowhard Index. I'm Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float Media. If you like what you heard, You can subscribe on YouTube and Twitch, but you can also subscribe on Apple and Spotify. We actually do 3 shows a week on podcast form, and just this one where we're trading and losing money. Although Emma's not losing any money, so I got to stop saying that now.
Thank you.
I'm not losing any money either, so shut your mouth.
It's close. You're close. That's all we got for this week. We'll be back at you next week. Our show next week. The podcast is on Tuesday. We're also on the radio, WMPG Portland Gorham, on Wednesday nights. So you can get us in all sorts of places. ISS, I'll expect your call. Thanks, Emma, and thanks, Damien.
Thanks, Emma.
Okay, Emma, thanks.